Thank you for joining us for this edition of David's Question of the Week, presented by NM Fiber Network. As New Mexico's statewide middle mile backbone, we're committed to keeping you informed about the technologies, opportunities, and challenges shaping connectivity. Here's this week's question.
The BEAD program is something that gets a lot of airtime, and it's something that we do speak on. And there actually are two member companies, 𝗕𝗘𝗃 is one, that did receive some BEAD funding. We're still working through the crossing of the T's and the dotting of the I's, but it will have an impact to broadband development in New Mexico. From a very practical standpoint, just the amount of materials that we produce, whether it's in the U.S. or U.S. adjacent locations that are approved for us to buy from, the pressure that's going to be on those providers to provide just fiber, to provide strand, to provide all the hardware necessary for aerial construction, or to provide all the conduit necessary for underground construction, the services that are required for all that, the engineering, the permitting. The permitting, if you ask any provider, that's the first word that comes up to when folks ask us, so, what's the hardest thing about, what do you have the most problems with to trying to get your projects done? It's always the permitting. And that's because the infrastructure that's put in place to allow for the permitting of that wasn't created to have it all happen at once. Think about it this way. When you're at home and you're on your tier 1 cell phone provider's service, your 5G probably works, pretty snappy. When you go out shopping, it's probably doing the same thing. But go to a football game, go to a choir concert, now that school's almost ending, or it's ending and ended in some areas, and all of a sudden, that same cell phone, you can't download a single picture. You've got network connectivity issues, and it's not that the network's broken, it's that too many people are trying to get access to it at the same time. I'm taking a little time to explain that because that's exactly what's happening in our case when it comes to the permitting portion. There's only one set of folks at the federal level that are in charge of approving and looking at a lot of the environmental review. Same thing at the state level. And that system and that infrastructure wasn't created to service everyone at once. And so, although this BEAD program is a huge opportunity for the U.S. and for every state that's taking part in it, which is all of us, I believe, it's not going to come without its challenges. So if at the state level they're going to have challenges, imagine at the federal level when all the states are wanting to get something done at the same time in regards to the same type of industry, in this case broadband. So that's one of the big challenges that it presents from a permitting standpoint. The other one, like we just talked about, it's from a material standpoint. Of course, as the materials become more scarce, the price will increase. Now, that's not to say that we haven't been beating that drum and ringing that bell for years now. Ever since we first heard about BEAD and we've been talking about it, folks have brought up these challenges, and so markets have responded, and I believe there's more in place now than there was just even 3 years ago in regards to our ability to produce fiber, for example, and not rely on having to import it. So steps have been taken. The prices didn't go through the roof, but BEAD hasn't caught full head of steam yet. We're just right in the process of it. I expect for it to become a little more tumultuous, if you will, in the coming months as everybody starts putting quote-unquote shovel to the ground, as you ask. So those are the challenges inherent in it, but the impact that it's going to make at the end of it to all the areas that are going to be served by this new interconnection, whether it's last mile locations or anything else, the middle mile network that's having to be built in order to serve last mile locations and everything in between, the impact is going to be the same as what we've been talking about in previous sessions. In this session, the uplift of a community, it's a generational impact. It's perhaps not just once in a lifetime, but just a once in ever. That's how big the investment is that the U.S. is making in our communities. And it's important. It's important that we continue to lead the way, technologically speaking, from the rest of the world. It's important that we're at the leading edge of technology and that our our communities and that our states and so forth are able to use that at a level that's at least at or better than everyone else. So it's a good feeling to be able to be in the middle of all that, creating a better future for the folks that are going to come after us, which is the cooperative's anthem, if you will. It's our philosophy. As a cooperative, we initially came together. A lot of just folks in the area came together, grouped together to create opportunities for their kids in terms of bringing in electricity into areas that weren't economically feasible. With the Rural Electrification Act of back in the teens, in the 1900s, 30s rather, the opportunities that they didn't have in those rural areas were realized through cooperation, through cooperatives. That morphed into telecommunication, and that morphed into what we have today, which is we continue to try to bring opportunity to rural America, and it has strengthened America as a whole as a result. You know, we've become leaders in technology and innovation the worldwide, at the world level, and we continue to do so. But for us to be able to maintain that, we need to continue to push to bring technology, to bring broadband, to bring telecommunication access to all corners of the United States, of this great nation, and we're doing that with BEAD. That's the impact. So we do have a lot of obstacles in our way in terms of permitting, in terms of material, in terms of coordination, and in terms of manpower. So there's only so many services out there, so many folks out there that are contracting to do this, to place this fiber in the ground, to construct it aerially with the expertise to do so and all the specialized equipment to be able to do that. And think about them getting pulled in 12 different directions at once, as all municipalities and states and everybody's wanting to build fiber almost at the same time. So all those things are the challenges of BEAD, but the opportunities and the growth that it creates for this great nation is not something that we would trade. We want that, and we're working hard to make that happen. And that's why everything that has to do with broadband is so important. There's a lot of bills at the congressional level. There's things happening at the FCC level that are threatening some of the stability that's been put in place in telecom, and as a result in the system that we just talked about, that we're working hard to help folks understand exactly the impact that those changes are having. So that's it.
Connection fuels opportunity, and at NM Fiber Network, we're building the backbone that makes that possible. Thanks for joining us for David's Question of the Week. Till next time, stay connected, stay curious, and for more information, go now to nmfibernetwork.com.